Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fear Assembly. I'll be your host today, Cole Harper, and joining us today is Ricky666, as well
Yo.
as Jordan Dwayne, otherwise known as Jordan the Grey Witch. So just to kick things off, what have you guys seen lately as it relates to horror?
Yeah, so I watched a recommendation from Chuck. I watched Mother Mary.
Hmm.
He talked about it last week, or when I don't know when the pod went out, but he talked about it recently. And he said that it's a film that feels made for me.
Hmm.
And he wasn't wrong, man. Jesus, what a film. So it's about I guess she's not an aged pop star, but she's a pop star who was really famous, kind of like I would say Lady Gaga kind of
Hmm.
fame. Um, Something tragic happened to her on stage, and she takes some time away, and she wants to come back into the limelight. So she wants this dress, but she's stressing over this dress because it doesn't feel like her. So she kind of rekindles a friendship with an old friend she used to have, who's this kind of renowned dressmaker, and they kind of reconnect. And through that process of them making the dress, she kind of explains what led to this trauma. And it's just a stunning film. It's not going to be for everybody at all. It's very, very suggestive, very artistic, but it has a like a ghost or a spirit sequence in it, unlike anything I've seen. Um, from like a paranormal film, and it took my breath away. It's definitely a very analytical film, and I think that it's the type of film that people are going to either really, really love or really hate.
All right, and so where would you rate this out of 10? Just curious, because I've got that on my watch list, but
Mm.
depending on what you and Jordan talk about today, that's going to determine what I watch next. So.
So for me, I like those types of confronting,
Hmm.
almost analytical horror films.
Hmm.
So I would give it, a solid 8.5. I absolutely
Okay.
loved it. Like, it's one of them films, when it finished, I kind of just sat there and was just like, what is this? What did it mean? And,
Hmm.
why was it made? And I know I've enjoyed a film when I sit there in silence afterwards, just kind of pondering it. And that I got that from this film. Mother Mary is fantastic.
Hmm.
I watched it on Amazon Prime. Um, I also watched a documentary which absolutely blew my mind. I texted you about it, Cole.
Hmm.
Um, because Duplass produced it, which I saw his name pop up on screen. I was like, oh, that's really cool. It's an American conspiracy, the Octopus Murderers,
Hmm.
and it is a documentary with the most insane story about this journalist who was covering this sort of like web of like crimes that kind of led off from one crime.
Hmm.
And he called it the Octopus, and he mysteriously died while he was covering this story. Years later, these other two journalists pick up the story, and it's just as crazy. It's like so many twists and turns, and I watched the whole thing like in one night. It's incredible. It's a
Yeah.
series on Netflix.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to Mark about it to see why he got involved in that project,
Mm,
and I think maybe for our listeners, we might have Mark on as a guest here very soon. So some
nice.
fun things to look forward to. But yeah, I saw the first episode, and then I think I got distracted by something else. So I got to
Mm.
catch up on where that series went. Obviously, first,
One thing
Jordan.
about Oh, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead, Ricky.
One thing about it that I loved it. I was hooked. It's a
Hmm.
four-part series. The ending, it ends so abruptly, and
Hmm.
so like it has this really shocking moment, and you're
Hmm.
like, holy shit, like something is happening. And then it just ends, and I'm like, wait, is there another episode coming? It feels like so much was left up in the air.
Hmm.
I did some research. I thought they was going to, bring out a part two, but that was the end. And that was the only thing that annoyed me about it, is I just felt like there was so much more information they wanted to give us, but they just couldn't. And I
Hmm.
guess that's kind of a part of that story.
Okay. And along those lines, I'm going to kind of jump ahead to a question I was going to ask anyway. Do you like when you have, let's say, a mystery type film or a horror film that has a lore to it where it doesn't quite answer what the genesis was or where this thing is ultimately going to conclude? Do you like having the open interpretation aspect?
Yeah, for sure. I think that ambiguity is one of horror's most powerful tools. I don't want
I
it.
agree fully.
Yeah, I don't want it all to be spelled out to me. And films
Hmm.
that do that, I feel like they kind of assume we're dumb, and we get it. Do you know what I mean? We're watching the story. We're there. We've watched it through to the end.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes to leave or to end a film with such an unanswered question or leave it so open is way more powerful than being like, and they all happily lived ever after, or this was explained and this is why they did this. I
Hmm.
like finishing a film and being like, confused almost.
Right.
And I think there's a right way to do that and a wrong way to do it. Um, Films that kind of do it narratively,
Hmm.
and then there are films that do it because the film is badly written, you
Yeah.
know? But I love it. I love it when I'm left at the end of a film just like, "Whoa," like, so I have
Hmm.
to figure it out myself, and I make the meaning here, and I think that's really powerful, and I think that's what film should be.
Right. Yeah, and along those lines, Jordan, I'm going to pose this to you. Like movies like The Backrooms, which is obviously just taking over the zeitgeist with horror and a little bit of sci-fi, and obviously the Parson Canes of it all just taking off and having huge success with A24. Would it ruin that story if it said, "Oh, by the way, the genesis of this is, they're all alien portals, just throwing people into this video game world to see what they do and how long they survive"? Like, would that ruin it? If
I think so, yeah.
mhm. And what were your thoughts on it, now that you've finally been able to watch the Backrooms film?
So, yeah, I did. I watched Backrooms this week and I finally saw Obsession. So, I have
Mhm,
2, like, of the big ones sort of on my palette right now, and I do wanna see Mother Mary. That's definitely on my list, so I'm for sure gonna watch that this week. We could talk about it next time. But I agree with Ricky 100% when it comes to the ambiguity. I
mhm,
think that, for instance, like starting off like films like The Blair Witch Project, for
mhm,
instance,
Mm.
you never see her. You
right,
never see her. And I think that makes it so much more terrifying because then every individual that is watching that film perceives the scariest thing to them. So when
right,
you see a monster and you see the scream or you see the creature, whatever it may be, that might terrify one person and another person might laugh at it. So you're never going to hit all bases when you show the creature. And I think that suspense and that anticipation, that's why we love horror so much because you kind of want that payoff, right? And sometimes you don't get that payoff and the lack of the payoff is also a payoff. I don't know how to describe it other
Mm.
than
yeah,
that. So I think with things like the back rooms, I went into back rooms absolutely blind. I had no idea. I was not familiar with the YouTube or anything about it. And I was
mhm,
actually really excited to go into it blind because something like that is so unique. I think going into it not knowing what it's about is just like, what the heck is going on? Now, I don't know that that's something that I would rewatch or anything like that, but it's an experience in and of itself, and it's definitely unforgettable, especially some of the things, and I don't wanna give too many spoilers about the back rooms if the listeners haven't seen it yet, but the one thing that I really, really, I think disturbed me is sort of the idea that the entities or whatever are in the back rooms are memories, like they're memories of a memory, or it's essentially something like if you're telling someone who's never seen a dog to draw a dog,
mhm,
right? And they get some things right, but most things wrong. And that's kind of what encapsulated the back rooms for me. Is like everything was just a little bit wrong. And the
mhm,
way that they formed the back rooms specifically, there's a lot of narrow corridors, there's a lot of dead ends, there's a lot of, it's all a liminal space that's sort of distorted and wrong. And that within the human psyche, especially within the colors, the people that can see color at least,
mhm,
those yellow walls and things that automatically psychologically make us uncomfortable, colors that we don't like, funneling into very narrow corridors where, as a mammal, I shouldn't go in there because I might not be able to get back out. So things like that, that are going to trigger our natural prey response, essentially like,
Mhm.
oh, you don't want to go around that corner. It's the same reason that humans are afraid of the dark. It's the same reason that humans are afraid of heights. Those are things that can kill us.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
when we see these things reflected in film and made to scare us, not only do I think does that showcase the brilliance of the filmmaker who understands that about human psychology, knows what's going to make you uncomfortable, knows what's going to make you scared, that anticipation that they use. I think that that's absolutely fascinating. So while I the Backrooms wasn't necessarily like my genre or something that I would normally watch, it was
Mhm.
still very enjoyable. It was definitely a crazy one of a kind thing.
Mhm.
So that one for sure, I totally get the hype around it. And then when it comes to Obsession, I mean, I think that one is just going to absolutely sweep at award season. I really hope that it does. And I know that notoriously, the Academy specifically snubs horrors, but that has been changing in recent years. We saw, Amy Madigan win for Weapons. We saw Michael B. Jordan win for Sinners. These movies that we loved, like horror
Mhm.
is the genre. It's the genre that we all love. And seeing horror kind of finally get its bells is really like it feels like a personal accomplishment. Like when you're a horror fan like we are, to finally see these films getting massive recognition. And at the same
Mhm.
time, you look at sort of these big blockbuster movies that are flopping at the box office, and then you see something that's a tiny little indie make hundreds of millions of dollars. That's something that we as horror fans are like, heck yeah, you just want to stand
Mhm.
up and give a standing ovation for stuff like that. So those are the two movies that I saw recently that I thought were really, really good. I've got Lee Cronin's The Mummy coming up. We're gonna watch that tomorrow, so I'm excited to see that one.
All right. Ricky, have you seen the Mummy?
I have seen The Mummy. Yeah, it is a horror film that is a horror film, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not anything special. I think if you like your films just kind of relentlessly brutal,
Mhm.
sure, it has that. I didn't find that it had very much story that kept me invested. It almost felt a little bit over the top gory. Like they
Mm.
were throwing so much at the screen that it felt too much, and they were more invested in that side of it than telling a good story. And then when you find out that it is essentially, and this isn't a spoiler, it's just like a thing about the film, but it takes place within the Evil Dead universe,
Mhm.
and that makes sense when you see the things in this film. They are deadites.
Mhm.
But I think it's a fun film. It's it's a theme park horror film.
Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, again, I think the whole
Yeah.
point of watching any of these is to be entertained, and
Hmm.
I know some of us really want to get our scares in, or maybe some comedy, right? With the one that I watched recently, Ready or Not, Here I Come, which I'll talk about more in a second. But yeah, I think entertainment is really through and through like what
Mm,
matters the most, right? And you
mm,
see it going back, Jordan, to what you said. Movies like Get Out, getting all the awards exposure and everything, but that's just like it's a fun film. It doesn't matter if you're not scared by anything that happens in there. It doesn't impact you culturally on the same level as another person. And you also see it with, other awards movies, like with Parasite, which was a huge
mm,
surprise from Neon a few years ago. Not just because it was horror, but because it was foreign language. It didn't try to do any dubbing like Godzilla minus one or any of these others. So, I do think that all of it helps elevate. But for me personally, I don't mind if something does or doesn't get awards nominations and wins, because that gets very political. And it's hard because if you have great movies come out the same year as other great films, like how do you beat that, right? And there's so many great years in just film where you have these amazing movies, they don't get nominated, and then some people are like, oh, okay, I forget about it, right? And that's why we want to keep talking about these movies, even the classics. So my question for you, Jordan, bringing it full circle with Obsession, because I know you were kind of late to that party. With all the hype and everything, did it live up to that in your opinion? Were you impressed by any aspect of it without any spoilers?
So yeah, without giving any spoilers, I will say that I managed to avoid any spoilers,
Hmm.
which is astounding. Like being I mean, every time I saw something about a session, I like sprained my finger to scroll. Like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to get spoiled. So when
Yeah.
I watched it, I was unaware of how low budget it was.
Hmm.
And the opening sequence, I'm not going to spoil, but there's a cat in the opening sequence. That was when I knew, and I was like, oh wow, that's a low budget film because I could tell by the props used. And I was like, oh, this is low budget. That's so cool, because I had already seen that it made hundreds of millions of dollars. And then after I saw it and I read, I was like, oh, wow, it was really low budget.
Yeah,
It doesn't
That's
feel low.
$750,000. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, unreal. So, and that's watching film. I watch so many movies, and you can spot things like that. So in the opening sequence, they're in a diner, and I noticed again, from being on sets and being in film, the continuity. They don't have ice in the drinks, understandably, but they didn't have the plastic cubes in there to make it look like it. There was just like flat soda sitting on the table. That's also a sign of low budget. So I was
Right.
like, this is really low budget. And then I saw what it made, and I was blown away. And do I think that it deserved the hype? Absolutely. I think that the performances alone were incredible. I think that there's nothing else like Obsession out there
Yeah.
at all. But there's nothing else like it. And it kind of kept you high octane the entire time. The entire time. It was just, it's just an excellent film. It truly is. And I honestly can't give enough props to the people that worked on it, because I think that, we were talking about it last time, and you were asking, do you think this is going to change the genre? I think we're going to see a lot of people trying to copycat what Obsession did. Absolutely. I don't know that they're going to execute it, but they're going to try for sure. But yeah, I think Obsession lives up to the hype, y'all. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, and the other thing that's interesting about it, I want your take, Ricky, because I don't know if you've seen this one multiple times, but for a lot of people now that it's on digital and they're starting to buy it and rent it and watch it again and pause certain scenes, there's a lot of things that you miss the first time through, either just because you're caught in the moment, or your mindset is like, okay, what's going to happen with this character or this scene, and you see all this stuff, you're like, oh my god, right? And I don't want to spoil what those are yet, but there were at least 5 or 6 things where I did not notice the first time through, where I was like, that is really, really, really cool, that they pulled that off. So very Kubrick-esque, if I may say. So I hope that, everybody involved in that project, from obviously the director to the producers to all the people working on the set and behind the scenes, they're definitely gonna, be involved in other projects and hopefully get a pay raise as well to go with that. But on the acting side, the people on screen, like they're already getting massive role opportunities and other things, because everyone is talking about them on social media, and they all have the same takeaway as you, even if they said, it wasn't that scary, or, I wish it went that angle or that angle. You can't deny the performances in that movie. So 100% agree. Ricky, have you seen Obsession multiple times, or did you just have the one?
I've seen it once. I need to see it again. I think it's a fantastic film. It's definitely one of the best horror films from the year. I think it is a film for me, though, where the hype machine kind of ruined my experience a little bit with it, because I went into it expecting it to be just like completely blow me away. And again, fantastic film. I followed Curry Barker for a long time. His film Milk and Cereal is fantastic. But I think the hype kind of got to me. But it is, what I will say, it's the only film since I've been doing this for the past 5 years. It's the only film where people who I've not spoken to for years in my personal life, people who I went to school with, who I had no idea knew what I do, had been messaging me being like, watch this film. Have you seen this film? And that's never happened with any other film. So it's done fantastic things for horror. I think that it's done fantastic things for independent horror. I think that it will inspire independent filmmakers to be like, we can do something fantastic. Just because we're an indie filmmaker doesn't mean we can't break through like this. But for the film, for me personally, I was a bit like, okay, this is great, but I didn't get that blown awayness.
Right.
If that's even a word. But it's a film I would watch again. It's a film I would show people and tell people to watch. There are scenes in that film that are inherently creepy. The scene, again, without getting too spoilers, but the bedroom scene, you can't watch that and not say that isn't creepy. The multiple scenes where he leaves the house and comes back, and you're like, what is he going to come back to this time?
Yeah.
That's excellent. It is a really good film, isn't it?
It is. And again, like, for the things that I've already had spoiled for me just through social media, I was like, wait, is that real? And then I did some back checking. It's like, okay, that is really, really, really intelligent filmmaking. And there's also some things that may or may not be confirmed, for years to come in terms of the psychology element of it, the gender role play,
Mm,
the friend relationships, the fact that the main character, right? He starts as kind of like a victim, right? Woe is me.
mm,
I'm asking this girl out, and she's like, she views me in the friend zone, but he's really kind of the villain, right? Is ultimately the takeaway. And so there's all kinds of, fun psychology conversations that I think can come out of this as well.
oh, for sure.
And that's why I want to give it a little bit more room to breathe before we open some of those up. And some of them are just going to be conjecture, of course, but that's why it's going to be interesting to see what Curry Barker finally says. Oh, by the way, and then he reveals it, because so many directors don't do that, right? Like, you don't see
Mm,
Christopher Nolan being like, "Hey guys, in Inception, this is my proof that we're in a simulation," right? Maul
mm,
going on the train is not her being crazy. That's her actually waking up to a real kid. Like, he's not going to say that. He wants to leave it, open ended, right? And then you go into the next movie, and it's just a totally different world. So
mm.
that's what I'm intrigued by in the months to come. But yeah, that's one I'm going to watch again. I think many people that have not seen it, you absolutely got to catch up. But if you already have seen it in theaters, it's now out on digital and a must watch. Have you guys seen the Ready or Not 2 Here I Come sequel?
Yes, I watch anything with Sarah Michelle Gellar in it. I'm a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan and
Hmm.
always have been. So pretty much I'll watch anything with Buffy in it.
Hmm.
And I will say that the only complaint I had about Ready or Not 2 is that it wasn't just titled Here I Come.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because the first one was Ready or Not. It's two. It should have been Ready or Not and Here I Come, in my opinion. So the fact that they added Ready or Not to Here I Come,
Hmm.
I think they're prepping for a third
Oh
or
yeah.
potentially another one. Because to me, I'm like, the title was right there. Why didn't they do that? Well, I think it's because they want to make it a series. And when it
Hmm.
comes to Ready or Not, I loved Ready or Not. It's
Hmm.
just so fun. It's a lot. It's similar to if you've seen They Will Kill You.
Right.
Okay, it's just like that same type of vibe. It's fun. It's action. It's horror. You're gonna see some gore, but it's an overall just fun experience. And sometimes that's like, as horror fans, that's what we want to do. We just want to have fun. And in my opinion, Ready or Not to Here I Come it's just fun. It's fun.
Hmm.
It's a star-studded cast. You're gonna have fun watching it. Watch them back to back. Watch the first one and the second one, because the first movie ends, the second movie starts the second that the first movie ends. So there's
Yeah.
no downtime. It's essentially one giant film.
Hmm.
So
I love it when they do that. Like The
it's fun.
Descent and The Descent 2.
Yes.
Hey.
Hmm.
Exactly the same. So it's just it starts immediately as soon as you see the ending of the first one. That's where the second one kicks off.
Mm,
And again, I love when they do that. There's years in between it, but if you watch them back to back, it just flows perfectly.
mm.
Yeah.
So it's definitely fun. I think you'll have fun with them.
Yeah, no, I greatly enjoyed it. I agree. Sarah Michelle Gellar was a pleasant surprise, and the range that she showed in that character, and also obviously Samara Weaving. My favorite character in that was the Elijah Wood
I knew you
character,
were gonna
because he's
say
just
Elijah.
so well, because he's just kind of like calmly sitting there as people are exploding all over the place, and he's kind of like, that's just part of the rules. That's just what
Yeah.
happens, type of thing.
Elijah
So.
is no stranger to horror, though. I think a lot of people know him from Lord of the Rings and other things, but he was in The Faculty back in the 90s, and
Hmm.
he carried that film. Like,
I
he's
love
one
The
of the mains,
Faculty.
and that's one of my favorite movies. I
I
will take
love
any
it.
chance to talk about The Faculty.
I
So for
love it.
For our younger listeners and for our older listeners that haven't seen The Faculty, what is the premise of that? Because that's one we haven't really talked about on the
Yeah,
pod
so
yet.
The Faculty is essentially I guess, dark academia. It would be considered in book world. So it's essentially about high school kids where people start acting weird in their town. They're not sure why. No spoilers, but it's a star-studded cast as well. So it's a great
Hmm.
cast. It's Josh Hartnett, Elijah Wood, Jordana Brewster, Usher's in it. It's just like there's so many great actors in it.
Hmm.
Famke Jensen is in there. And it holds up. I watch it annually, mind you. I think it came out in '99. I think so, around that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
like
it's just an amazing horror from start to finish. The opening scene is awesome. The close, like, it eats every single time. So the younger listeners, if you guys have not seen The Faculty, watch it this weekend.
I watched it when I was in we call it secondary school, you guys would call it high school. I watched it when I was in high school for the first time. And I remember going to school the next day and just like wishing I was Josh Hartnett. Do you know what I mean? Like his character was so cool to me. The psychology behind that now is like real
I had
obvious.
other thoughts
Like,
about him, but
no, sure, but like even back then, even when I was like under the age of 18 years old, I kind of like romanticized the drugs and stuff like that, and I was just like, this guy's really cool. And I just remember just like that film and that character. And I just like related to him as like, that's me. I'm going to go into school and I'm going to act like that character. And yeah, I had a pretty bad day that day.
All right.
It's a fantastic film. And I think it gets a lot of people, it gets a lot of shit, that film. But I think people are watching that film through today's lens. You can't do that. I think you have to go into it and expect it to not be a fantastic film, but for it to just be a fun film that is almost like a time capsule for when horror was big budget mainstream and in the mainstream. Do you know what I mean? Like, these big budget studio horror films aren't being made anymore. And, the likes of 13 Ghosts, A House on a Haunted Hill, Ghost Ship, that era of horror died out then. And
that's my favorite era.
Yeah, right. Because it's fantastic. And, but it's big budget, big studio horror films don't get made anymore. And I think that is the last time that was done. Yeah, for sure.
I hope movies like Obsession help that to change. Genuinely, for sure, I truly do.
For sure. But I also hope that it does. Indie horror filmmakers still manage to keep breaking through the way that Curry Barker has.
And as you were talking about that, not to interrupt, did you ever see the movie Disturbing Behavior? I think that came out in the late 90s as well, 1998. It has James Marsden, Katie Holmes, Nick Stahl.
Maybe
you've never seen Disturbing Behavior.
I'm
Ricky,
just checking, maybe.
No way. You should totally watch that one. That's same era.
Yeah. 1998?
Yep.
98. It's really fun. It has a great soundtrack as well.
I've not seen it.
It's so funny that you bring up the soundtrack because I was just about to bring that up for The Faculty. The Faculty also has a killer soundtrack, and I know that because I used to have it. It's a killer soundtrack, and you really don't see that anymore because licensing for music costs a lot of money. So to get an entire, not only just like some really good songs in a movie, but to get an entire soundtrack from a movie, I feel like they just don't do that anymore. And The Faculty was one of the ones that was just like it's like a no skip album. It's a sick album.
I think that's what them sort of like late 90s and early 2000s horror films do have going for them that we don't have. Like you said, this is a completely different landscape now, but man, them films used to slap. The soundtracks used to slap. Like Queen of the Damned, that was a well good soundtrack. Like Blade, and was it Disturbia? Had some really good music in it. Yeah. No, am I thinking of the one with Halle Berry? Is it just? What am I thinking about?
You're thinking of Gothica.
Gothica, that's the one.
Gothica.
Yeah,
that's right.
But like, so I was a new metal kid growing up, so like to hear like a Korn song in like Queen of the Damned, I absolutely loved it.
I've been talking about Queen of the Damned all week on my channel because we just saw last week. So for the viewers, if you guys are watching Interview with the Vampire on AMC, it's the series from Interview with the Vampire, and a lot of people didn't know this. I actually had to make a video about it. The Queen of the Damned is the third book in Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles. So it goes the Interview with the Vampire Lestat, and then the Queen of the Damned. So the Queen of the Damned shows up. We're essentially right now on the Vampire Lestat because they changed the name to reflect the name of the second book, which is where they're at with the media. And a lot of people did not know that Queen Akasha, the Queen of the Damned, is in the Vampire Lestat book. So they showed her on screen, and a lot of the people that didn't know that, they're like, wait a minute. We get the Queen of the Damned? And all of the readers were like, well, yeah, duh, she's in this book. And so everybody freaked out, and I made some content about it this week, and I used the Queen of the Damned soundtrack for every video that I made. And I promise you, on every single video, everyone's like, yeah!
Nice. I didn't know that. I had no idea.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
I know, and that's so funny because I feel like I thought that was just common knowledge because the movie, the original Interview with the Vampire, came out in 1994, obviously with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and a young Kirsten Dunst. And then in 2002, The Queen of the Damned, starring the late great Aaliyah, came out, and a lot of people didn't make that association that that's the same world. That's the same with Stott. That's the same vampire. And I think a lot of people miss that. And I found that out this week when I was making so much content about the Queen of the Damned. And everyone's like, wait, this is the same world. And I'm like, yes, people, join in. It's awesome here.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the great soundtracks, I think they were definitely overplayed in many of the 90s movies. I think about like Garden State, obviously not a horror film, but one of the best movie soundtracks, in my opinion, ever. You have others, a bunch of these, football films like Friday Night Lights and others that had just amazing soundtracks.
Cruel Intentions had an incredible soundtrack too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Cruel Intentions, and that music was impactful as well. I 100% agree. And yeah, and a big part of that is what led to these studios really investing more into their music labels and being able to kind of license the music IP into their film IP and TV and things like that. Which is why a lot of these Disney movies, they just have all these like classic bangers, right? Because they're just tapping into their library of content. But it definitely elevates these films. So, Ricky, you got homework, man. You got to watch Disturbing Behavior.
I will. Yeah, I will.
This is a good one.
I have some movies I got to recommend for Ricky too. Yeah.
Yeah, rip them off. Let's go.
Well, because he said he likes movies that end where they kind of have an ambiguity. You're not really sure. I don't know if you've ever seen They Look Like People.
Oh, mate, yeah.
Okay,
That's a
so that was
fantastic
one
film.
that I was like, I know Ricky's gonna love. And then this one came out last year. It's called Good Boy. It's from the perspective of the dog.
Yeah, see, again, that was another film for me that really the hype kind of killed it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
But
say
it
something.
ends, you know what I mean? It ends open. You're like,
Sure.
what the hell happened? Do you know what I mean?
Sure. I'm gonna say something controversial about this film. If that character was if the dog was a human, people would be saying that this was a bit of a generic whatever film. But the fact that it is a dog, people kind of like lost their minds over it, and it's not a bad film, but like the whole way through, I was like, if this dog was a human, this is a film we've seen 100,000 times. That's it.
I fully agree. I mean, the most of the money I'm sure went to the trainer, but that's just the one that came to my mind that was like, it's a weird film that it leaves it open ended. You know what I mean? But They Look Like People is the one that I originally thought of because I was like, oh, he's gonna love that.
It has some really good moments. There are some really good cinematography in that film, and some creepy, parts. And you can see that they were trying to do something different. But yeah, for me personally, everybody else seemed to really, really like it though. So I'm probably wrong.
Jordan, any others that ended with this ambiguity? That
oh my gosh, I don't know. Those are the ones that first came to my mind. I was like, I wrote them down because he was like, I like films that end this way, and I was like, oh, well, those will do it for you.
Right.
I'll have a think about it, and I'll see if I can come up with any more.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, all right. We talked about Ready or Not 2. There's a bunch of new movies on streaming. Ricky, Jordan, what else have you guys seen lately that you want to discuss? Anything you promoted recently on your channel?
I've recently started Widow's Bay.
I was just about to say Widow's Bay.
Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's loving it at the moment, and you can see why, man. It's so. It's. I was talking to my wife about it last night. It's no bells and whistles, good storytelling. That's exactly what this show is, and that's why it works. And we had an interesting conversation about filmmaking is only about 200 years old, right? And when filmmaking like first started, sort of like even before like silent films, it was story driven, right? And I think somewhere along the line, people have started making films not so much story driven, and have had influences from studios or whatever. It's got muddy, and the reason this show stands out, I think, is because it is just solid storytelling. Every single character, even the characters you see once on screen, they have personality, and you can see the lives that these people live, even though they appear on screen once. It's like a Stephen King novel, right? And I guess that's what it reminds me of. The whole show just reminds me of a Stephen King novel. It reminds me of seeing Jaws from the perspective of the mayor. And yeah, I'm on episode 4, and each
Okay.
episode just keeps getting better and better.
I think episode 5 is the one that I made the content about. So we'll have to talk next time what you think of that scene. There's a scene, no spoilers. There's a scene where you see something and you're like, what was that? Like, and it's so quick, and that one's my favorite episode for that reason. But I was making content about Widow's Bay too, and I think it's from Apple, correct?
Yeah, it's streaming on
Yeah,
Apple.
so I think Apple, I mean, they've got so much money. They better be cranking out good content. I'll tell you what, and Severance I thought was fantastic. I like that one as well. So I was not surprised at all that Widow's Bay hit it out of the park. It got nominated for a ton of Emmys. So I really hope that the actress, what's her name? Oh my gosh. In the show, the dark-haired girl. Do you remember her name?
I'm bad with names. So.
Oh my god, I'm blanking on the names. They're
the
gonna say it in
character's
the
name is her
comments.
name Nicole?
All right, I will
She has
look
the
it
little
up
book
as
truck.
we continue.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Anyway,
And
she is my favorite
Is it
character.
Nicola?
because
Is it
she's
Nicola
so
or Nicole?
funny.
Yeah, I it's one of them shows that, like, again, I'm gonna go back to just like how well written it is, and how well, and it's just so heavily centered around story, but it leads you down a road where you're like, this is really predictable, but then that doesn't feel like it matters because it's so well written, and just because you've kind of picked out where it's going to go doesn't mean it's bad. Like, there are films or shows that are really predictable, again, because of bad writing, right? But this show is so well written that you don't care that you're predicting it because you're there for the ride. But they, there are also like red herrings here, but they don't make a point out of this is a twisty show. This show hasn't been made to make you overly think or fake you out and have these moments of like, oh my god, I didn't expect that. It just wants to entertain you, and that's what it's doing.
Right. And the actress's name is Kate O'Flynn, who plays Patricia.
Patricia! Oh my
Yes.
god, it's driving me crazy. Patricia.
Yeah.
Patricia is my favorite character, and she was nominated for an Emmy for that show. And you know what? I really hope she wins it because she was my favorite part. She did such an incredible job. The actress is British, and she puts on an American accent the entire time, which is always impressive. And she's just so funny. She is so relatable for us weird girls out there. So if there's some weird girls listening, Patricia's she's like our team leader.
Yeah. Yeah, and Ricky, you're gonna get to some like hilarious episodes where it's just it's so fun. Yeah, I mean there's some scary parts too, and it's certainly creepy, and the story will continue to get better, and it'll add some layers to it and some twists at the end that we won't spoil. But there are some episodes in there where you're like, this is like epic that they like set this up and pulled this off. It is just perfection. Like, it's the type of episode you just want to rewatch. You don't even want to continue on from there. But yeah, I mean that's why it's going to go on to win a bunch of these Emmys, right? And to your point, Jordan, it just adds fuel to Apple to keep reinvesting into more seasons of Severance and Succession, and or not Succession, the morning show. Going back to our buddy Duplass, and many others on there, right? And the other horror series on there, I don't think we've talked about this one in the past. This is based on the movie. Damn it, pulling it up again. As soon as you rely on the internet, then it lets you down, of course. Oh, okay, I'm on the wrong screen. That's why. Okay, so we're talking about not the studio, which is the comedy. Come on, help me out here, guys. Cape Fear. Come on.
Oh, Cape Fear.
Cape
Okay.
Fear.
Yeah. Are you
The
guy up
studio
to
I
speed
thought
on
was
this
funny,
one?
too.
Yeah.
Oh, the
And
studio is
somebody who lived in
fantastic.
Hollywood, it's accurate. It's
Mhm.
accurate.
Right. But with
I
Cape
haven't seen
Fear,
Cape Fear. No.
okay. Well, that'll be next on your list. Jordan, how
Mhm.
about you?
I haven't seen Cape Fear.
All right. So yeah, this is super intense. By the time this episode comes out, I think we're about 8 or 9 episodes into this season. But it's one of those. It's a intentional, slow suspense thriller. Where there's basically this very murderous guy who has gotten out of prison, and he's going to retaliate against his attorney, who he thought did not do a great job. And that attorney has also married the plaintiff's attorney that was going after him. So it's kind of a 2-for-1, where he's going to dedicate all of his time post prison to making this family's life hell, all the way down to interacting with their kids and moving into the house next door. I think it's a light spoiler, but it's just one of the situations that just keeps getting heavier and heavier and more tense. And so I'm anxious to see what the payoff is in the penultimate and the finale episode. But yeah, we won't linger on this one since you guys have not seen this. But
I
another
love the
great
film. I
show.
love the De Niro film. I think that's
Yeah.
a fantastic
For stuff
film.
like that, I try and wait till it's out
Mm.
so I can binge it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like if there's
Yeah.
a couple episodes left, because right now I'm stuck in the middle of watching The Vampire Lestat every week.
Mhm.
And I wish I would have just, I mean, I have to watch it because I'm making content about it, but also like, I wish I could just binge it all, like
Yeah.
that's my favorite, especially when it's like a rainy day and we're like, you know what we should do? Put on a roast and watch an entire season.
Mhm.
of
That
some
is good,
show
but
or
I
movie.
also do love the whole you have to wait next week for another episode. I miss that. I miss that way of like presenting a story. Like
Mhm.
that you set your day around getting home to watch that show, or
Mhm.
or everything has to be sorted so we can sit down at this time to watch that show. And we
Yeah.
don't get that anymore. And I think that kids, people younger than us, will never know what that is like. Your favorite show airs on E4 Friday night, 9 o'clock,
Mhm.
and you were excited about it all week. I miss that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But I
going
do
back
also like binging as well, so.
Yeah, they're both good. I mean, to your point, Ricky, with like Sopranos and peak Game of Thrones, I think that was, must watch. And even on just general television, great shows like Seinfeld and Friends, people knew, hey, the next episode's coming out,
Mm.
Wednesday at 8 or whatever that is. But yeah, I mean, that's where streaming has totally impacted our behavior, right? And so I think people can kind of choose their own adventure. Do you want to stream all of Obsession, well, sorry, Severance on Apple as Ricky you did with your wife, or are you gonna watch it kind of one at a time? Because sometimes it's overload, right?
Mm.
But yeah, what is one of your favorite TV shows that you've like binged all the way through where you're like, oh my god, I just have to keep watching these back to back?
I don't know if there's one that I didn't watch like as it aired because I have so many like favorite TV shows that now like
Hmm.
even if they're like in syndication, I'll watch them again. For
Hmm.
instance, one of the ones, and I know this is so campy and I might get some booze from the audience. I don't care. I love the show. I watch True Blood
Yeah.
every summer. It's just one of the ones that I love to binge. It is so silly and so camp, but I love it. I don't care. I don't care. I'll watch that. But things like, Game of Thrones, I was watching that as it came out.
Yeah.
So to binge those again, it's like sort of reliving that high of going week to week and having to watch it. It was the same with Dexter for me. Like, oh
Hmm.
man, we gotta wait till next week. And that like I get what Ricky's saying about that. It does make it fun. But now once they are all available, I would love to just sit down and just binge 6 episodes.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Ricky? What is your favorite, or maybe you and the wife that you agree on is one of your favorites?
Stranger Things is our show.
Mhm.
We met when the first season came out, and you kind of when the show ended, that was like a really big deal for us because it was like the thing that it was like our thing.
Mhm.
And I know that a lot of people really didn't like the way it ended, but I feel like it was bigger than that. It was more like, you watch them characters grow up,
Mhm.
and then you watch them like, transcend into adulthood. And when it ended, it felt like a part of our relationship was gone. Something that we shared. So it was our thing. Stranger Things was our thing, and then it was over. And I remember when the last episode aired, I was sat there with my two children, and not with they were in bed, but like when we first met each other, we were just a young couple, no kids.
Mhm.
And now the show's end, and we have two children, and it was just like our lives had changed so much in that period of time. So it was, to us, it was so much more than a show. It was
Mhm.
like a vein running through our relationship. But that is a show, and when it finished,
Mhm.
we put it back on and we just watched the whole thing again, and now we've put it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Stranger Things is that
I
show
love
that
that.
if we start watching it again, we won't watch anything for 2 to 3 weeks.
You guys should get like a Stranger Things tattoo.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like one of the monsters or something.
There's no
yeah,
more
right.
room.
Just
Ricky,
what
where would you have it?
a
You're covered, man.
Demogorgon just like on my face,
Yeah.
just like the whole thing, just like yeah.
Yeah.
No, that would be something. I don't know. I got some hidden spots I can hit.
hmm Jordan, what's been one of your favorite TV shows of any time period that you binged or just
I mean, I already brought up Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I love
yeah.
that show. I think it holds up, and maybe that's just because I've been a huge fan. I watched it my whole life.
hmm
Um, and now, like, seeing the cancellation of the reboot was absolutely devastating for the entire fan base. We were
Yeah.
so excited because Sarah Michelle has been so adamant about not rebooting that show for 20 years almost. And then she got a really good script and was like, you know what? Okay, we will do it. And I'll be a legacy character and I'll reintroduce the new characters. And some dingleberry decided to scrap it, and the whole fan base is like absolutely irate over this because they're like, why would you do that? This is the type of fan base, and I've worked loads of conventions like as a model and whatnot.
hmm
Every single time somebody from Buffy the Vampire Slayer was there, the line was wrapped around the building to meet them.
Mm,
Their fan base is insanely rabid. There's an
mm,
entire Sunnydale con at the school where they film it every year, mind you. Like the fan base for the show is
hmm
crazy. I cannot imagine why they scrapped it. It does not make sense to me at all, especially having Buffy
Yeah.
on board when for 20 years she said no.
hmm
So that's one of the ones I watch all the time. I've already mentioned Game of Thrones and True Blood and Dexter and things like that. Um, I mean, gosh, I like bingeable shows.
hmm or let me reframe. What is your favorite like horror TV series ever?
Oh, I
Right.
love American Horror Story.
hmm
Minus the newer seasons. I will say
Okay.
like Murder House I loved Coven, I loved Hotel.
mm,
hmm
I thought they were excellent, excellent seasons, and sort of it changes if you're familiar with the show. It sort of changes the theme every season.
Right.
So it's basically like watching a whole new show with all the same players. You know, they get new roles. I really liked how they set that up. I
hmm
will say that I think that the later seasons kind of jumped the shark.
hmm
And I'm hoping that now they have Jessica Lange back for this
Right.
new season they're filming. They're filming season 13, and they got Jessica Lange back when she said for years. Now, mind you, Jessica Lange is a goddess, so she said for years she would never do she would never do American Horror Story again. And then she was just on the red carpet, confirmed that she was on for it. So, A, I want to know what they paid her, and B, I know that script is fire because
Yeah.
there's no way she would have done it at her age unless it was. So, I'm really excited to see that one. And those are totally rewatchable as well, in my opinion. It's well written.
Yeah, I
uh,
watched the first maybe 5 or so seasons. I haven't carried on with all the newer ones, but how many seasons are there? Like 9, 10,
13. This is the 13th,
13?
I
Wow.
think. I
Okay.
believe.
All right. So
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
think I haven't seen past uh Apocalypse, I think was the last one I saw.
have you
all right.
guys seen? Well, I've got two. Have you seen The Outsider?
hmm
Um, and also Castle Rock is fantastic. If you haven't seen Castle Rock, watch Castle Rock. It's
Right.
all based. It's set in the fictional town of Castle Rock, and it's all centered around Stephen King characters. So like Shawshank
Oh.
features in it, and like just like every character within this show. It's only had 2 seasons. The second season isn't as good as the first season, but it's got Sissy Spacek is in the first season.
Harry.
One of the best singular episodes I've ever seen from any horror TV show. It is in um, Castle Rock, the season 1. It's fantastic, and it all centers
Okay.
around Alzheimer's and dementia, and it's not very horror if you don't consider like psychological horror, losing your mind scary. To me, that is
Yeah.
terrifying, but it's so fantastically written. I was certain that it was going to get nominated for an Emmy, but it didn't. That is the one horror show I would recommend people go watch, is Castle Rock, especially if you're a huge Stephen King fan like myself. It's fantastic.
Mhm.
And The Outsider is based on the Stephen King novel The Outsider. And it has his name is I've forgotten his name now.
Is this Cynthia Erivo as well? Are you talking about the HBO series? I
That's the
think.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, God, what's his bloody name? He's in Ozarks. His name always
Jason Bateman?
Oh,
That's
Jason
him,
Bateman?
Jason bloody Bateman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason Bateman, The Outsider. It's fantastic. It's about this guy. He is loved by the entire community, small town America. He's a baseball coach. Everybody loves him. One day, somebody sees him killing some kid, and nobody can deny it. This was the guy who killed this kid. They arrest him. He was like, "This wasn't me," and everyone's like, "Well, there's so much evidence. I'm not going to say where it goes because it's mind blowing." But yeah, it's such a good film, TV show.
Yeah. I remember seeing that as it dropped on HBO. Just great, and in a similar vein of like True Detective, in the sense it's kind of mystery and dark and all of that. Another great TV series. My favorite horror TV series, and I may have spoken about it before, and I think you guys would agree that this is a banger for sure. But it's The Haunting of Hill House from our buddy Mike Flanagan.
Yeah,
I mean, just
faultless.
just unbelievable, and one that for our listeners that haven't seen it, it is truly scary. And I think the TV format is hard to cause those scares because you've got these interruptions and a week off, and then you're just kind of diving back into the world, right? So it's like each episode you kind of feel like, oh, they need to kind of rev it up the first 10-15 minutes, but this just turns it on, from start to finish. And
It's
moments where
Shirley
you
Jackson, right?
I believe so.
Yes, she did. She also wrote oh my gosh, We Have Always Lived in the Castle and The Haunting of Hill House. She did both of those, I think. Yeah, amazing writer.
Yeah, and this is one that was truly scary, and one my wife was like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "You're gonna want to leave the room," because she's not a big horror fan. So, and some of the best jump scares ever. But as I've said about Flanagan,
I was gonna
and
say the jump scares, right?
yeah, but he's somebody, he doesn't like leaning into that. So I think, and again, we've talked about this before, but there was another TV show he did where he got studio notes saying like, we need more jump scares. And that episode shattered the record of jump scares at like 90 jump scares in like 45 minutes or something like that. And it was his way of kind of poking fun. Like, okay, you want me to take your notes, or you want me to direct the damn, content? So it was just, it was actually hilarious because like as a viewer, you knew, you're like, oh, it's been 20 seconds. There's going to be another jump scare. And then somebody jumps out of the closet or from under the bed. And you're like, you're laughing at it, So with Haunting of Hill House, I just felt like it was perfectly executed. And obviously that's led to all the opportunities and things that he's taken on from there, including the upcoming Exorcist film that we've spent a lot of time on. But my favorite thing about Flanagan that I think can't be emphasized enough is that his storytelling, going back to what you said, Ricky, is just flawless because it works even without the scares. Like you could literally remove all the scary stuff and it's still a really fun story. It works as a drama. It works as a character piece. It works as a mystery.
It's such an emotional show as well. Like numerous times through that series, I was crying. Like it's really powerful as well.
Agreed. So Jordan, did you binge that one when it came out, or?
So I read her books.
Yeah.
That one is gonna have to be one that I revisit because I remember when it was coming out. I think I saw the first few episodes. Now I know what happens, so I know, you know what I mean. So I actually never saw the ending of that series, but I remember it being good. I just remember when it was premiering, my life was a little crazier, so I missed the end. But that's definitely one I'm gonna have to revisit. I also, like I said, I've read her books, so she's an incredible author. But also, you were talking about the Haunting of Hill House. I was going to bring up House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
You guys remember that one? That's one of my favorites too.
What the sort of like, is it early 2000s, late 90s with
yes. God, it's the remake as well, because the original I think is from the 50s.
Liam Neeson, right?
I think so, and then they remade it in either the 90s or the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But that's a fun one. That's one of my favorites. I think that one's one that will scare you. I remember it scaring us in the theater. Like there are some gnarly scenes. It's definitely some good jump scares, and it's fun. It's a fun ride.
The old black and white film is also genuinely scary as well.
Is it Vincent Price?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. I am actually getting confused with Haunting of Hill House. The old Haunting of Hill House, the original.
No, there's an old House on Haunted Hill as well.
Right. Yeah. But I think I am thinking of Hill House. Yeah, because we watched that after we watched. So my wife is way smarter than me when it comes to film. She has a master's in film
Mm.
film theory, and her thing is like films from sort of like the 30s, 40s, 50s. And I did a series years ago where I would watch the original, watch the remake, and kind of compare the two. But the original Hill House black and white film is genuinely terrifying, psychologically upsetting,
Mhm.
and I think that a lot. I mean, I've always been into like the old horror films, but like I think a lot of people don't watch the old classics because they
Mhm.
assume they're going to be boring.
Right.
And if I could point them to one film, it would be the original Hill House film because it is genuinely scary and way
Let
ahead of its time as well. I
Mhm.
mean, like they're like focusing on like gay characters and stuff in that film. You know, they're
Mhm.
not really like saying it, but they're like nodding towards it. You know, um, and you know, I think that came out in like the 40s or whatever. So,
Mhm.
yeah, really good and definitely worth watching for sure.
Yeah, let's talk more about some of those classics, right? Because I think a lot of people, including myself, it's like we see all the new stuff, we see the Evil Deads, we see, Backrooms and Obsession and all the ones we've been talking about. But it's like there's so many classic films that, if you don't see it front and center on Netflix or Hulu or whatever your streaming platform is, it kind of goes out of the zeitgeist, and you only, see it kind of in like forums of like rankings and best
Mm.
this and best that. So Ricky, what are some of the classics that you think are like must watch for anybody that truly considers himself a horror fan? Because I need to catch up on some of the original ones.
So, like going way back in time,
Mhm.
I just wanted to say a quick point as well about the Hill House. These films laid the foundation to everything we have now in horror, so they deserve that
Mhm.
respect. People should go and watch them. Just because they were made in the 40s doesn't mean they're not good. You know, I think people need to get that out of their heads. But like another film from around that time was the original 13 Ghosts. That film is terrifying. I can't remember when it came out, but that is a terrifying film. I watched that on Halloween when I was really young, and it horrified me. Um, but like your classics, I'm like, you know, The Exorcist, I think is the greatest film of all time. Not just
Mhm.
horror film, just the best film ever made. Um, you know, uh, The Thing is one of my favorite horror
But
films.
but see, but that's still 1982, right? So it's like
Yeah, sure.
there are still those classics that you were talking about from like the
Mm,
beginning of cinema, right? Even during the
sure.
silent film age.
Yeah.
Like
I like
I'm
the old, the old like Bela Lugosi vampire films. I absolutely
Mhm.
love. The old like Christopher Lee, Hammer House, anything
Mhm.
Hammer horror did. I was kind of raised on that. Like, my dad has a lot of faults, but it's probably because of him why I'm so heavily into horror.
Mhm.
Um, but just I would say go check out all of the classics. We wouldn't have modern horror without these films that laid the foundation for everything that we have now. So yeah.
Mhm. Jordan, you're a huge vampire fan, obviously. Do you like the original Nosferatu? What's your favorite kind of classic vampire film?
That's kind of where I was gonna say,
Mhm.
Nosferatu came out, I believe, originally in 1922, which was also the same year they found King Tut's tomb, right? So, like,
Mhm.
similar vibes. I think that's crazy that that film came out that same year, right?
Mhm.
So, and mind you, Nosferatu is a complete ripoff of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and of
Mhm.
course, we know that they got sued over that film for that reason because of the breach of the fact that they stole the story, right? And so then
Mhm.
we didn't have access to Nosferatu for a while because it was scrapped for that, and then they remade it obviously in 2023, I think,
Mhm.
and that it premiered in 2024, right? So I think it's definitely worth watching is the old Nosferatu, the old Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, the originals. And when it comes to vampires, like I mean, I I could have a whole list of vampire movies, not necessarily the classics, but a
Yeah.
whole list of vampire movies that it just depends what type of vampire lore you like, like I could give you a whole list of witch movies, whole list of vampires, werewolves, like that, creatures, monsters, things like that. That's my genre. That's my forte.
Yeah.
Um, I was
And
gonna
and there
bring
were
up
and
the
by the
only
way, just to interrupt, because I didn't know if you knew this, I didn't know this, but there were 2 Dracula movies that both came out in 1931, both called Dracula, which is unfair because now it's like these days, if you don't know if it's this version or that version, you have like the name and the year. But you have two Dracula movies that both came out in 1931. Um, and that was also the same year that like Frankenstein came out, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and many others. So, um, have you seen any of those? Any thoughts on those classic films?
I haven't seen Jekyll and Hyde.
Hmm.
I saw the older ones. We used to watch them like in Hollywood. They would have showings of the old classics. It's like a pretty common thing. They'll have them at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, so they'll like project the old movies onto and people can go sit in the cemetery and watch them.
Hmm.
That's kind of the most like classic films I've seen. Those ones. Kind of need to see some more.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, Ricky, if you want to rattle off any others, I mean, I'm putting together a list as we speak of ones I need to catch up on because there's so many classics. But it's like, your memory, especially as you watch as many movies as we do, it's kind of like, oh, I think I've seen that. Like maybe you've seen parts, but you haven't really like sat down and watched. And like another example, the original Invisible Man came out in
Mm.
1933, which has been remade what 3-4 times at this point. But yeah, I mean, let us know, Ricky. What's worth our time? What should we explore?
I think like The Uninvited is pretty good. I think they
Hmm.
remade that as well. Um, Cat People is
Hmm.
pretty good as well. That's very
Not the
psycho.
not the James Corgan or
Oh
which one
no,
was the
no, no,
the
no,
cat
not
movie?
not Cats. That is scary in a completely different way. Um, but yeah, I don't know, just like trying to think off the top of my head, but just I really love all the old all the old like the ghost horror films from like the 30s and the
Hmm.
40s, because they kind of even now people are using that same formula to scare people,
Right.
making us afraid of the dark, making us afraid of what's under our bed, making us afraid of what's behind the next corner. It's like it's the fundamentals of horror, and I think some of the best horror films that have been released recently rely on the tactics that were used in the 30s and the 40s to scare people, and I think that that's a pretty cool thing.
Hmm. And the Wolfman came out in 1941. That was one of the first werewolf related movies, right?
Mm.
Jordan, you're our resident werewolf expert, so tell us if there's any other classic werewolf movies that should be on our radar.
I don't know about classic. I know the Wolfman's the first, right? I don't know about
Yeah.
classic. I don't know how far back I could go, but I feel like most of the werewolf movies started in the 70s, 80s.
Hmm.
But anything before that, I don't know that I can help there.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm gonna always recommend. I mean, American Werewolf in London, I think, is the best werewolf film that
Mm.
exists as of
Yeah.
right now. I think that might get bumped out of the way when we see Werewolf later this year by Robert Eggers. We've talked about that loads. I'm super excited to see that movie. But some of the ones that I think don't really get their bells as much as they should. Dog Soldiers,
Mm.
I
Hmm.
think, is a sleeper. I think a lot of people kind of skate past that one because I think it was made in Scotland or I think it's Scottish or Welsh. I'm not really sure, but it's a smaller film and not many people have seen it, right? So
Hmm.
that one's the one I'm always going to tell people to watch. Personally, I love the underworld werewolves. I love the Van Helsing werewolves. I think that when it comes to CGI, and we think we even talked about the Harry Potter werewolf last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, there's so many different types of werewolves that not necessarily about the plot, but you really kind of rely on what they look like, on whether or not you're gonna care for the film, right? Because if it's a great film and then it's a bad werewolf, it's like, oh man. So
Hmm.
personally, American Werewolf in London is the one that I always tell people. It's got the great practical effects, the transformations, and then another weird one that I think not a lot of people have seen is The Company of Wolves. And again, you're gonna look at a lot of practical effects, weird stuff in that one.
Okay. And when was that out? Is that from
I
like the
believe in the
70s, 80s?
80s,
Okay.
maybe The Company of Wolves. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, The
So
Company of Wolves, you should definitely watch Dog Soldiers if you haven't seen that one. And then, of course, American Werewolf in Paris or American Werewolf in London.
yeah, Dog Soldiers is fantastic. I was just like going back to like some lists of like older horror films just because my brain is failing me. But Peeping Tom from 1960, that
Mm.
is a film that is even by today's standards really, really messed up. It's
Mm.
about a serial killer who uses a camera to kill women with a mirror on the camera so they can see themselves dying. It's really messed up.
Mm.
And I think
That's brutal.
it's the first ever film to use like POV perspective as well.
What's the title again?
Peeping Tom. It came out
Peeping
in
Tom.
1960.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a really, really savage film.
All
It's
right.
surprising. I'm looking back at all of these old like films and like
Mhm.
The Bad Seed that came out in 1956. Like these are all films that have been remade into films that people like don't really know. Like Ghost Ship. Like, did you
I
know that
love Ghost Ship.
Ghost Ship, the original Ghost Ship, came out in 1952?
Mm-hmm.
Madness. The Uninvited, that came out in 1944. People need to go watch these films.
Yeah. Yeah, well, very soon we're going to put together kind of the ultimate list of recommendations, so that we're not
Hell
having
yeah.
to just remember everything from recall or spend time on Wikipedia and whatnot. So, bringing it back to present day, which movies that are coming out soon are you most excited about, aside from obviously Werewolf, which comes out on Christmas Day? I know Evil Dead is out by the time that this podcast drops, and we're all going to go see that. But what else is on your radar that you're really excited about?
I'm excited about the films I haven't seen that have been released already. Like I've not
Yeah.
seen Backrooms yet. I've not seen Leviticus. I'm
Mhm.
really excited to finish Widow's Bay.
Mhm.
And off of the all the other films that we've mentioned before, Evil Dead Burn, looking forward to seeing that. Werewolf, really looking forward to seeing that. But other than that, not a lot else. There's not really much on the horizon outside of them kind of like them films that we've discussed before.
It's
Yeah.
Leviticus for me too. I'm excited to see that one. And of
Mhm.
course, Werewolf. I mean, we talk about this every episode. I feel like we're
Yeah.
we're all such Eggers
Sure.
fans, so that's the big one for me. I've been excited about that film since Nosferatu. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to come out with another one. Huge fan of his work, so excited for that one. And Leviticus, like I said, I'm watching Lee Cronin's The Mummy. I'm watching that this week.
Mhm.
So there's so many films and so little time. I try to watch,
Yeah.
like so many per week, and there's always more. There's always more to watch, and that's the beauty of it.
Right.
So, sorry to interrupt again. I'm really bad at that, aren't I?
Oh.
There is a film actually coming up that I'm really excited about. It's not a horror film, but it's going to be horrific. It's a film based on the life of G.G. Allen.
Mm.
Do you know who G.G. Allen is?
No.
So G.G. Allen is this like he was in a band called G.G. Allen and the Murder Junkies, and they're like a punk rock band from like the late 80s, early 90s, and he is like notorious for doing some very, very terrible things on stage. He died in a he was like live fast and just die, that kind of like mentality. But his shows, he would like go on stage and just I things I can't even say on here. It's like really, really bad, like bad stuff. But they're finally making a what is it called? What do they call it when they turn films about people into
A biopic, or
that's it, a biopic,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
about G.G. Allen. If
Mhm.
you don't know who G.G. Allen is, research G.G. Allen. He is one of the most controversial like people in like rock and roll. But they're making
I've
a
never
film
heard of
about
this
him.
guy. Where's he from?
I think he's from New York. I think he's New York based.
I'm so surprised I haven't heard of this guy, because
Yeah.
I'm all into the weirdness.
Yeah. But he did stuff like real bad stuff on stage. He was not a good person. Not a good person. But yeah, the film, I'm all in. There's a documentary about him as well. Start there. Watch that.
Are we talking like Jimmy Savile bad? How bad?
Oh no. So he was a so as an ex-junkie, I can use the term. He was a massive junkie, just a really destructive person who made really questionable punk rock music, but because of his antics on stage, they got really famous in the underground sort of like punk scene, and they were invited onto like American chat shows and stuff like that. Have you seen like the Marilyn Manson interviews where he's invited on to like daytime TV? They do the same with G.G. Allen back in the day, and he's just a really fascinating character because what he does on stage and what he's like done to people in his audience, but he also released an album of like really nice, almost poetically written songs. But then he had this other side of him, which was like nihilistic, self-destruction, and yeah, really interesting character. Can't wait to
All
watch
right.
the film.
I'm gonna check out that documentary. It sounds intense. I'm also curious who's gonna take on that role. I don't know if you know which actor. Is it
Yeah, I
Jason
do.
Bateman?
No, Gigi Allen film.
Yeah. So as you're looking that up, I'll pose this question to you, Jordan, and we'll kind of end on this note. But if there was a horror film that was being developed into a TV
Oh,
series, kind of like the Pennywise, thing coming to HBO Max and having the episodic version, is there something that would be really exciting to see developed from film into
Oh
TV?
wow, that's a good one. I mean, it's the only thing is like what's difficult about that question is the things that work for one horror may not
Yeah,
work for a season or a
yeah.
series. Um, oh my gosh.
And you could cop out and just say backrooms, because
I don't want to
it
cop
already
out.
kind of
No.
exists.
Maybe something like okay, so I really liked Penny Dreadful.
Hmm.
And I was really bummed that they capped that at 3 seasons. I get why they did, but it was a great cast and it was a great show. But I
Hmm.
think something along the lines of Van Helsing, where it's like, oh, like there's all these creatures, stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
we don't really have like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a supernatural like show that's like X Files, that's like
Yeah.
can keep going, that's paranormal. I think maybe something like Van Helsing or something like that, where they could have one title character that's recognizable and put them in a bunch of weird paranormal positions that could continue. Maybe something like that. I mean, I'm always down for creature features.
Hmm. Ricky, how about you?
so the guy playing Gigi Allen is Caleb Landry Jones.
Oh, he
Hmm.
played he played
Hmm.
Dracula. Good for him.
Yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
If you could take any horror film and develop it into a TV series, right? Just in a fictional world, what would you be most excited about to see being developed?
Interesting.
Yeah,
Oh,
these are brain busters
yeah,
today,
they
Cole.
are.
Hmm.
I'm not
And I'll
sure.
I'll
I
buy
mean,
some time for you, Ricky. Like, picture since you've seen it recently, Jordan, even like Obsession as like a TV series, what you could do
Sure.
with all the characters and the various twists and turns and the lore, right, of the One Wish Willow and so forth. I mean, some
Yeah,
of
I mean,
these
I think they could.
ideas, it's like,
I think they could. I think they
yeah.
could do that with
Hmm.
something like Obsession. You just have to have a really good premise that's going to carry.
Hmm.
Like Dexter. It's a series, right? So like each episode can change with the same base. But
Right.
horror movies tend to be just this one thing. So you have to be
mm,
able to extend that one thing into a series, which
Hmm.
not all of them can.
sure.
So yeah, I think anything that's like a creatures, paranormal, anything like that, like they
Mm.
can
Hmm.
extend as long as it's good writing and a good cast.
Well, I've
Okay.
been saying for years that they should turn 13 Ghosts into a TV show, but they
There you
are
go.
now.
They
Yeah.
are.
And I don't want to take credit for that, but
No, take it.
I've been ranting about that for years. So maybe someone listened. But I agree. I think it would have to be something creaturey based. It would have to
Hmm.
be, you know, something that people love enough to be interested in a show as well.
Right.
Because I think that it's quite difficult to take a film and then I think the success of like It and Welcome to
Hmm.
Derry is kind of unusual because it was so close to when them films were released, and I think
Hmm.
for it to and I think that is kind of like you wouldn't get that again. I feel like if you went back and you would have to adapt a film from back in the day for it to be successful enough for me.
I
Hmm.
thought of a good one. I
Well,
thought of one. Okay. And if someone snipes this idea and turns it into a show or movie beforehand, you guys heard it here first.
all right.
My idea would be for a haunted house or haunted anything, but from the perspective of the ghosts. So they get to see like the ghosts are the main characters and then the time is different, right? Because they have different time and each episode is like a new family moving into the same home and dealing with them, right? Like and it would be
Yeah.
from their perspective like trying to get the people out, right?
Okay.
That'd be a cool series.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously we've got great slashers like Texas Chainsaw Massacre being developed into a TV series, and then you've got other non-horror IP that's being developed as we speak, like the Harry Potter world.
Mm.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if audiences gravitate to one over the other and how they execute this and kind of bring these characters, into these extended storylines as opposed to just the 90-minute or 2-hour version. But yeah, all right. Well, great conversation today. I want to thank the listeners for joining us. We're going to go ahead and wrap there. So thank you for watching this episode of Fear Assembly. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you want us to discuss any topics, have some rankings, do our research ahead of time so we're not looking things up on Wikipedia. But thank you, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody.
See you later.